Crouch. Bind. Set.
Joe presents the House of Rugby, together with Guinness.
Don't look back in anger. I heard you say profound words on which to start this week's show. Welcome to House of Rugby, brought to you by Joe, together with Guinness. I'm Alex Payne, back by unpopular demand, some might say, alongside the Hoff. Welcome to the Heath, Nick Heath,
Thanks
rugby journalist and commentator. Good to have you alongside as well. How are you?
Good, thanks. You?
Good. Have you watched this before? Have you dipped into the
I've
House
caught
of
a
Rugby
few,
along the way?
A few, yeah. I enjoyed a bit of Joe Marler's contribution, Tins as well, when he had a few, I think.
That's pretty much every week, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's quite slurry after his team had won.
Yes, true. Producer Si has very kindly written my first question, which is thanks to Vernon Kate for last week. Did you miss me? Which pretty much fucking undersells the whole thing last week, doesn't it? Take the knives out of my back.
No. Every show that I well, firstly, it's so nice to have you back. And
Thank
with
you,
that,
James.
don't look back in anger quote and how you started it really polished.
I always like to pop a little musical lyric at the top of a show, just to get people thinking.
You're trying too hard.
Why?
Well, you don't have to worry. You're regular on this. It's fine. I know you got real rattled after last week with Vernon coming in because you haven't stopped. You haven't picked up the phone all week.
He didn't bring your poetry.
Well, I've been skiing.
No.
It's very dangerous to ski on your phone.
skills as an orator, as a professional orator, were not. You know, they're not the same. Vern was very much like, all right, lads, rugby. So
I love the Vern, though. What a great lad.
What a great
lad.
What a great man. Oh, you were missed, but I thought Vernon was excellent.
He's a proper superstar, though, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's like personality.
Yeah, because he's famous.
Presenter.
He's famous on Family Fortunes.
Yeah. Have you bought DVD yet?
No, he didn't give me a free copy. I wanted a free copy, and he wouldn't give me one, which I think was shit.
You made him out to be quite menacing.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Oh.
I quite like it, but...
Yeah, you're a menacing Vernon Kate. I'm a lot more friendly.
That's just me naturally.
No, you're not. You're about as threatening as a
I reckon Vern's
daffodil.
got a bit of edge back in Bolton Day.
He's too good looking.
Yeah.
He's too good looking. There's no way he's ever had a fight in anyone. But it's good to have you back. And I wouldn't say you were missed. You were sort of, as soon as the show started, you were a distant memory. But this week, now I saw you again. I was like, oh, that's the guy, Alan. You were like, no, it's Alex. I was like, yes, good to have you back.
Alid
Payne.
Alid Payne.
Great. Jack Hoff and Nick Heath, lovely to have you both here. Peace and harmony this week. I think a dose of peace and harmony is a fairly good place on which to start because it's been a fairly lively few days. I leave for 1 week. Australia sacked their best player currently. England's best player is on the naughty step. Notre Dame has burnt down. Chief Executive of the Premiership Rugby has stood down. France are about to sack their coach and bring back. I mean, it's been a fairly eventful 7 days, I think it's fair to say. Should we start with the Israel Folau situation first of all?
Sure, I'm not sure anyone's talking about it.
It's a fairly size. I mean, it's rattled rugby. You've got a prop. Do you want to produce your prop?
Oh, I did.
Nearly forgot.
I nearly did. I completely did forget.
Dear podcast viewers, James he's brought the love.
I have. I'm wearing a pink vest that doesn't fit very well, but it's got love. I'm just showing my solidarity.
Is this something from the wardrobe, or is this something you've purchased for?
I purchased it today. I was in Soho.
Lovely.
I went to a few different shops. I actually explained the situation to a few people, and they were very eager to help.
Right.
But this is the best we could come up with because it's not around gay pride time, so there wasn't any kind of nice rainbow items, and I didn't think turning up in a motorbike, leather motorbike hat would be a good look.
You just sent through a lot of photos into the WhatsApp group.
Yeah, exactly.
The blue oyster is waiting.
No, that's not. No. So I just thought this would be enough for just to show my love.
I don't know why it is, but we were sort of nattering away, and suddenly every sort of double entendre is being picked out. I don't know whether that's your presence here tonight.
Possibly. If people ask me for a double entendre, I tend to give them
You're
one.
fairly quick to get to it. We are going to come on to European semis. Snarf,
Hooray.
snarf. And we've got another sports perfect pour to come to. But let us start with this fairly controversial story that is rocking rugby and sort of wider sports as well. I'm very quickly going to sort of whip through the timeline, just in case you've been on Planet Mars and haven't been dialing in of late. Folau posted on Instagram that hell awaits for drunks, homosexuals, adulterers, liars, fornicators, thieves, atheists and idolaters.
Sounds like a good night in.
This came a year after a series of posts in which he said that God's plan for gay people was hell. Rugby Australia said that their intention was to terminate his contract unless he could prove mitigating factors. I'm not quite sure what mitigating factors you can turn to in those circumstances. That has led to the Wallabies coach Michael Checker saying it would be impossible for him to go to the World Cup. As of right now, he has under 24 hours to formally respond or to be sacked. Billy Vunipola, friend of the show, has obviously liked the original Folau post, and then when challenged said on Instagram, "Man was made for women to procreate. That was the goal, no." And Billy has now been booed by Saracens fans at the weekend before being issued with a formal warning by the RFU today. It's really good to have you on the show.
Thanks.
Do you want to sort of explain where you come at in this scenario, and I suppose how you've kind of been caught up in it as well, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, once... Israel's got previous. He did this about a year ago. He then wrote a piece on this website called Players' Voices where he went through his whole kind of journey and moving from league to union and being on his own and how God was by his side and everything, and was beginning to gently call out the homos at that stage. And then I wrote a reply piece at that stage that kind of said, look, imagine if you're 14, 15 in the outback and your hero is Israel Folau. It's probably not doing an awful lot for your confidence and your ability to be who you are and be loved and come out potentially. You're probably potentially putting some lives in danger.
Yeah.
And then he's reprimanded by Rugby Australia. They take a while to act, I think, but ultimately they do the right thing. It's a kind of slap on the wrist. And then all of a sudden, almost a year to the day, he goes double barrel.
Yeah.
Twitter, Instagram, some meme that someone sent him or he spotted somewhere that he's very happy to get out there. And as you say, the list of everybody, most of which is stuff that people might choose to do on a Friday night in a love vest, having a lovely time. But the homosexuality one, for me, was the main thing that while everybody's going, it's disgraceful what you're putting out there, which to a degree, whether you believe or not, people should be expressing certain views, is up to you. But I just wanted to... I sort of realised that my professional sphere and my personal sphere were kind of lining right up, and I thought, do you know what, rather than write an article, I'll just quickly record something about what I think is the main point of this.
Yeah. Can you summarise that video, just for people who perhaps haven't seen it?
Yeah, well, ultimately, I was just saying, homosexuality on that list is the one thing that isn't a choice. It's something you're born as. And so if you're saying that this is sinful as a believer, then that's, pretty disgraceful, and you're at risk of causing harm to people, and I don't think that's a particularly Christian value. And then Billy obviously has liked Izzy's post. We don't know what a like means as far as Billy's concerned, and then he puts his own post up, and when I even referred to my husband about it and went, so Billy's waded in, but he's not quite gone down the same route, my husband turned around and said, no, he's just decided to go down the misogynist route instead and say that women are just there to have kids for men. So I can sort of... I sympathise with what Billy said, and I've sort of stood by his right to defend his religion being under attack. But I still think that ultimately, my argument is with what Flolau put out there. And I've had an amazing reaction, and it went viral and everything. And I've had players getting in touch, Nemanja Ndolo, Danny Kerr, Chris Robshaw, various people. But then you also look at the players who've liked Billy's post on Instagram. It might just be a solidarity with players, but Manitou Alangi, Tom Youngs, Courtney Laws. So it's whether there's this sort of issue causes a bit of a rift in a dressing room, that side of things. It's just the funny thing is, of a lot of the people that got in touch with me are Christians saying he doesn't speak for me. This seems entirely unchristian, unbenevolent, and as I pointed out, potentially harmful to people. And that's not what we stand by. And ultimately, there are so many flaws in the system of his form of belief of Christianity, which is dangerous as a sports journalist to fully get onto religion, because I've got a lot of respect for whatever people choose to believe. But as I think James put out on Instagram, well, what form of it are you subscribing to? What are you picking and choosing? You're not playing on a Sunday, but you are playing on a Sunday and happy to take the money for that, or you're getting inked, which the Bible says you can't do, but you've chosen to pick out homosexuality as something. And he's also put a load of other sins down there that ultimately his teammates are probably doing on a weekly basis. So what's it like for them to go, thanks for saying I'm going to hell? Just bizarre.
You chilly?
Yeah, I was getting a bit cold.
Oh, right, okay.
It's like I've got solidarity, but until I get the cold, and then I'm like, well, a bit of fair weather.
Nipples like chapel coat pegs.
There you go. Very eloquent, in slight contrast to the big man alongside, who said, this is the biggest load of shit I've ever read. And that's having had a bit of time below the line on the podcast and YouTube reviews for this show.
Yes.
Sport has no place for this crap, you said. Keep it to the hate groups, Izzy Folau. You aren't spreading the Lord's word, you're spreading hate. You're an unreal player, but a fucking misinformed bigot. You stand by that?
Yeah, 100%.
Double down?
So I have learnt a lot of things in the last 3 or 4 days. The first is never talk about religion. Because...
you're not a religious person, are you? Is that a question?
I don't know. I don't subscribe to one religion.
You're not an atheist, but you're not.
I mean, this is my. I'll give you a quick view on it because we don't want to make this about religion. This isn't the point about this thing. But I've actually really interested in all forms of religion, actually, because I think there's some amazing bits to be taken out of everyone. About living your life in a certain way, about loving your neighbour, about treating God's creatures and the earth in a really good way, doing all this kind of stuff that has a real positivity, spreading hope. I know somebody who I was talking to the other day about this conversation, and their parent lost her husband and one of their sons in a short period of time, and was. Religion had helped them deal with that. I think having a voice for someone to talk to is incredible. I think being generous, helping, sacrificing, that for me, out of whatever religion, whatever Jewish, Islam, Buddhism, whatever, Christianity, whatever it might be, I think it's brilliant. Yeah. I think, and I said this in a post, I think the bastardization of this stuff is where we go wrong. But that's just my personal opinion. So I'm not religious in that sense. So I found out that talking about religion was not a good idea because it evokes a lot of passion for people. And I am a big believer that 2019, that people talk about the snowflake generation, people talk about getting very sensitive. You can offend anyone doing anything these days. And a lot of stuff I say and do, I don't apologise for. I skate often, along the line of misogyny sometimes. I make mistakes. I said in my video that, I've done a lot of stuff for gay rights. I truly believe that sexuality should not be questioned. I don't believe it's relevant. I never came out straight. I never, since there's been humans on this earth, there's been straight people, there's been gay people. However much anyone wants to pretend it hasn't, it is. So this isn't a new phenomenon. This isn't 2019. People don't wake up gay. People don't choose to be gay. That they're born, and that's it. And as soon as people realise it, the world can move on. So I posted this because I felt very strongly about it. And the reason I posted was because a person in my sphere of influence commented about something that I didn't like. Right, and I was prepared, and he has previous. This wasn't an accidental post. This wasn't I was associating with the beliefs of, in particular, the Bible, that in parts of it say that, sexuality, you're going to hell. Right, if you're gay, you're going to hell. This wasn't a mistake. He knew exactly what he was doing. He'd been told once, don't fucking do it. And he's done it again.
He did both barrels as well. Twitter, Instagram. Boom, let's go
exactly.
for it.
He didn't mess around. So I was then right. I'm going to stand up and go, this is not acceptable. I spent all my time telling people in the media, telling people that sexuality is not a thing, that you should be able to be free to do what you want. That if I had gay teammates, which I probably do, because statistically, there's got to be in professional football, rugby, there's got to be. But people don't feel comfortable enough at this point in time to come out and say anything. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to stand up and defend it. I'm going to say this is bullshit. I'm going to call you on your bullshit. And I was then disappointed that I saw people that like this. A lot of people said, it's just freedom of speech. It's fine. But my belief is everybody is entitled to say what they want. However, we have to be able to read between the lines and use common sense and the general consensus that is not correct. That is bullshit, and be able to say it. So when I said in my video, this is hate speech, you are condemning people. You are suggesting that people are wrong, right? So by dint of that fact, you are being hateful. You are not being right. You're not just having an opinion. You are having a derogatory, negative opinion which inspires negative thoughts, right? And it's not me being a snowflake. It's not being fussy. It's because it's fucking wrong. So, but if you want to believe that, and everybody can believe whatever they want, and I compared something to Hitler, where we talk about people having opinions. In history, lots of people have had open vocal opinions, right? In hindsight, we've turned around and gone, that wasn't probably a good idea. That wasn't right. Just at the time, everyone was doing it. They talk about the mob mentality. Just because everyone went, yeah, this is right. It's not fucking right. Someone said something that I didn't like. So I decided that I was going to comment on that. But what I wasn't trying to do is that he had made it religious. People were saying it is his religion. It wasn't me saying that. It was cut all the rest of it out. Just talk about the very fact that you're saying that homosexuality leads you to going to hell. But what people have levelled against me is, where was I when ISIS were blowing people up? Where was I when
people have come at you with that on social media.
Why was I not there when there was the Asian grooming scandal? Where was I when Muslims were doing this? Where was I when Catholics were doing this?
Very good question.
Everything.
Where were you?
Because the point is that nobody in sport, in my rugby, has done that. So if a Muslim teammate of mine said something that I didn't like about something that was something I didn't like, I would call him out on it. It's got nothing to do with religion. I'm not scared of putting my fucking neck on the line and saying stuff to people. I don't care. It's not about your religion. I don't care colour, creed, sexuality, religion. If you say something I don't like, I will comment on it. And the reason I commented on it is exactly what I said. We spend all of our time talking about being open-minded, level-headed, acceptance, and then some fuckwit says something that makes people feel bad. And the one thing, my wife explained it to me better than anyone, is that imagine waking up every day wanting to be something that you couldn't be, feeling that you wanted to be doing something, be with someone, act in a certain way, and you weren't able to do it, and how uncomfortable that would be. And then she said to me, but all the choices I've made in my life and what I wanted to do, how bad would that be? And someone like Israel Folau or somebody coming out and saying that is wrong means that somebody will be uncomfortable. Somebody won't be able to do what they do. They'll be turning up to work. They'll be turning up to training. They won't be able to be with their friends. They won't maybe come out to their parents like they were going to.
It's also validating all those other people that want to jump on board saying it's wrong, that haven't developed their opinions as well. So, and I happened to get a call from Ben Cohen earlier this afternoon, who I've developed a relationship with over his LGBT stance and his anti-bullying stuff. And he was talking to me about the fact that he's just a homophobe. He's dressing religion up and he's homophobic and he hates gays. And I was like, well, as much as I can see that's a very general stance to take on it, he's saying that he believes these people are sinners and therefore they're going to have to repent. He has to repent for his own sins, so therefore other people are going to have to. And Ben quite kind of amusedly and pointedly said, so what? He goes to church on a Sunday and gets a clean slate for Monday morning. He's done his repenting for his previous week's things. By wrapping homosexuality up in this, going back to someone struggling to come out, on their own and worried and hearing these sorts of attitudes, he compared it to basically Israel Folau holding the rope and going, well, as long as you repent on Monday morning, is the stool all right there for me to kick away for you? Is that going to help? Because, as long as it's wrong, obviously, and you're going to hell, but as long as you're repenting, it's fine. And I sort of found that quite a powerful image. And I couldn't really disagree with it when he puts that out there and says you're going to hell.
Did Flolau respond?
No.
You got a lot of pickup.
No, but
I'm not sure he's responded to anybody. Did Billy respond?
Yeah, I mean, look, I got accused again of other things about being a liberal lefty. When I wasn't. I don't think. If you ask my wife, I definitely am not. I got called a Marxist. I got called something which is a fantastic word that I doubt a lot of listeners on this show will know, was a virtue signalling, which is a new kind of word that's come out by 2018-19 word. Because a lot of these words now are used very commonly to describe anyone who stands up for anything they don't like or is sensitive about anything. Yeah. I'm pretty much not sensitive about most things, and I let the world in general go past me by. That's why I don't stand up and fight everything. Mm-hmm. But if someone does something in my world, that's when I fight. And I posted another post, which on reflection was probably became more in the sphere of religion, which is not what I wanted to do, because I think I love, I said, all the benefits of religion.
Some of my best people are religious. Some of my best friends are religious.
Yeah, are you religious, Nick?
No, I'm not.
I mean, in a very...
But it's funny that we've sort of got to a point where people are referring to religion and Christianity in the same way they used to refer to some of my best friends are gay. Yeah. Some of my best friends are Christian and that kind of thing. And, I don't mind if you do it, but do it behind closed doors because I don't want to see it. And it's sort of...
But it is odd. Parallel. It is odd that I think... And people say, again, just quickly, that Israel Folau did it on his social media. He didn't actively go out and share that with them. He did it on his private social media. First of all, his social media, his Instagram isn't locked, and neither is Twitter. So everybody can see it. So that doesn't wash.
Well, he's obviously pushing the message.
And that doesn't wash. It wasn't privacy.
He's also got so many followers that he's ultimately encouraging idolatry.
Yeah.
Which is one of the sins he's put out.
You can't. Don't
by his very own
idols.
existence, he's causing sinning.
Yeah. I mean, look, because in the world of social media, we follow false idols the whole time. That's what we do. So that is categorically against religion. We back people. We follow wrong people. If you're in America, you vote for wrong people. But
we've done that too.
Yeah, of course.
Not necessarily just in America.
Yeah. But do you know what I mean? So that didn't wash me. So then I did a follow-up post, right? And this was very tongue-in-cheek. And I'm not stupid. And I studied religious studies at school from the age of 10 all the way through, I think, until 15, 16.
What did you get in your GCSE?
I don't know, got a B or something like that.
Got a cross.
Religious-ish. You're sort of going to heaven, but maybe not.
Yeah, exactly. So on the waiting list.
Yeah, exactly. So, so I read a few bits, and I know enough to say some quotes and bits and pieces, and I did a little bit of research into this post, and I essentially said, and this is where I went wrong, and because it caused more trouble than it's worth, was that exactly what Nick said. If you're going to adhere to these certain guidelines, then let's look at all the other stuff you're not allowed to do. And I listed the things, and some of them were, I know some of them tongue-in-cheek, some of them were kind of down to personal interpretation. But the very point is that unless you live your life whiter than white, then your side of the street isn't clean. So you can't pick and choose. You can't go, I don't like that, that's outdated, this isn't relevant, but we're still going to burn the gays and drinking and, and adultery's wrong.
Yeah,
you've got to go into it with a level-headed thing, pragmatic. But what I've discovered is when it comes to the passions of A, politics, and B, what we're talking about today, religion, sensible thinking, compassion, a pause doesn't come into it. It is fight, attack, divide, and conquer. And I spoke to Billy straight away because I posted this post. And it was directed at some other teammates of mine in some other teams that I've played with before who had liked Israel Folau's post. And had
have you seen any of those people since posting?
Yeah, I have.
And is it awkward? Is it a discussion point? Is there?
Yeah, I've had some words with some people. More like, what are you doing? I said, my thing is
the liking thing is an interesting thing. Sorry to interrupt, but it's I got a message from a teacher of my nephew, and he said I teach year whatever it was, and he said, we have to deal with disciplinary issues within the school when someone puts something on social media, and we then have to follow up with the people that have liked the post because they're potentially buying into what the original person said, and then and it gets to the point where actually all of them just go, friend of mine, like, friend of mine, like, and it's almost just a signal of having seen it, not having liked it. So that's why, I'm sure any of the conversations that Billy was having with the RFU or with Saracens is, well, what did the like mean?
Have you had that with people who have liked the post?
Yes,
who just said,
yes.
What do you do?
The point is,
their liking was an endorsement of the message.
I think what you've got to understand, this is my interpretation from some of the stuff that I've spoken to, it is a solidarity. Because, and also this is a very dangerous thing, and especially involving Billy, is that religion for Pacific Islanders and for Billy, it's a very, very important part of the foundation. Every team I've ever played with, it is just as we wake up and eat. They wake up to religion. That is what they're about. That is what they focus on. And every teammate that I've ever had, Islanders, majority of them have been extremely religious. And I think the point is that we have to then understand that we have to reflect. So I've tried to be understanding, but my only conclusion that I can come to is that whatever your belief, like I could go home and Chloe and I could be dressing up as Nazis and doing, we do on Tuesday nights, but doing whatever we're doing, right? But I wouldn't come out and volunteer it. I wouldn't come out and say to people, this is what I'm about. And that's what I don't understand. If religion is super important to you, why do you have to tell everyone about it?
That was my issue the first time with Izzy, is that the post I put out was, why are you voluntarily broadcasting a message that ultimately could do harm to other people, and none of it is their fault? And actually people came back to me when I said homosexuality is the only choice. And they said, well, atheism isn't a choice. You surely choose to believe. So the atheism on there shouldn't be a sin. Other people said the drunks thing because they were referring potentially to alcoholism, and they're saying actually addiction, if you've ever worked with anybody, or been in the sphere of addiction, which, people in my family have, then that there's not much choice involved in that either. So there's enough on that list that causes a debate alongside homosexuality, let alone anything else.
Which is a very, very valid point. I want to go back to the people who you have spoken to.
Yeah.
I mean, who have you spoken to?
I'm not going to name names because there's some people I said to them, my exact words were, why the fuck are you liking this post, or why are you celebrating this post?
And their response,
right? Well, it's kind of what we believe in. I'm just supporting a brother. I went, yeah. you do understand that this is under a lot of scrutiny. You do understand that you're nailing the colours to a mast, that it just isn't acceptable. Ring him up. Yeah. Text him.
Are these religious people, or are they just...
Yes.
They are, okay.
Yes, that's the thing.
So they have religion at the core, as opposed to just teammates?
No, yeah, at the core. I think some other people, so for example, the ones... So with Billy, I feel sad for Billy for the sole reason that he is such a lovely guy.
Yeah.
Like, fundamentally, a lovely, lovely, lovely guy who doesn't hate, who doesn't discriminate, who is accepting, who is kind-hearted, who is generous, who is everything. And he is guilty of trying to, again, what I said, talk about something that has been part of his life since he was born. It's something that he has gone away from and come back to. He admitted that he sinned.
Well, see, this is it. Do you remember when he came on 2 months ago and he said, I have had issues and I've been challenged, and it's in no way excusing it, but I wondered whether his reaction was a sort of attempt to throw himself into religion and to say I have changed.
I perceive his like of his post, and I don't know Billy, so I genuinely don't know, and maybe if I find out, if I meet you can say, but I'd see it as actually just supporting someone else who's under attack, who he sees as a fellow religious man. Yeah. I don't think he's necessarily standing by the full message that's in that meme.
I don't think he...
Well, because he hopefully admitted in his post that he's been all of those things at one point.
And I just think that I 100% agree. I think he liked that to show solidarity, because under the sphere of religion, somebody whose faith was being attacked, who's important to them. And then this is the issue, which I don't want to get. We're not attacking people's faith. We're attacking one part of the faith, which actually is, for me, completely misinformed. It's impossible. Once you understand that sexuality, you are born like it, it is not a sin. You cannot. It is like, for example, in the Bible, if it said it is terrible to be white.
Yeah.
Right? I could go to church every day for the rest of my life, apologise, repent, cry, wear a hair shirt, be like the guy from fucking Angels and Demons with that thing on your leg. I could do everything, but I'd still wake up white. Yeah. And that is the point of sexuality. So everything else, I mean, again, we talked about...
And you'd still be being told you're going to hell.
Yes. I think with addiction, I think that's a really interesting point. But the other stuff, the whole idea is you can apologise for those things. And Billy has openly said, I've made mistakes, I do this. And I think for him, it's a constant battle of finding the right path, like it is for anybody with their religion. Yeah. But I think that he's guilty of making a mistake, and I think he fully understands that he should have showed that solidarity behind closed doors. And I think in his desire to explain himself and explain what he's been taught since an early age, which millions of people believe, that God created Adam and Eve, and in the words of Alan Partridge, he didn't create Adam and Steve.
Yeah.
The point is that's naive. That is stupid.
Not the fact you bought Partridge.
No, but he says that.
It's a cracking line.
Yeah, but it sums it up quite nicely. And that for me is where he's gone wrong. And I feel sad that he got booed, and I feel sorry for him, because I think he would have never, ever, ever, ever have volunteered what Israel Folau volunteered. I don't think he would have ever gone to that place. I think he wanted to show something because he felt Christianity and his version of it was under attack.
He may have showed a little bit of naivety in the post he put up, but he's not naive enough or stupid enough to put out the sort of stuff that Izzy has done.
No, and Billy will have known more so than anyone else, and this will be a huge learning curve. I've had some scams.
How old is Billy?
Young. I think he's
24.
Yeah. 24, 25? Yeah. Well, that's what he says in his birth certificate. He's like 37. But,
that old tactic.
He was 21 in that picture of him at school.
Yeah, so, exactly.
But I just think that he'll be going through something terrible now. And some people will say you deserve it. Some people will say, for me, I know Billy. He's got a heart the size of himself, and he's bad. I think he made some mistakes. I think he will have learned from this. I think he'll understand. But my message to everybody is: have your opinions, have your freedom of speech. But remember that social media is a platform. It's like going in a soapbox and standing in the street and shouting, and that you don't always have to share it. If you've got a responsibility, now I don't want to be a role model. I never want to be a role model. I swear, I've used homophobic language before. When you're at school, oh, that's gay. Don't be gay. It's become common parlance. So every time I
think it was. I think it's less so now.
It is less so, but you still
people get called on it more now, so it is becoming less. But yeah it does. It still happens, but I think you kind of go.
But as a gay man, have you noticed a difference and a sort of? Have you noticed it being left behind? The lazy usage of it
to a degree. I mean, I was fascinated with my nephew and his generation. I'm like, do people still use that language? Or, you know, and there are people I know of that age group that's just like, well, we're pretty sure that so-and-so's gay, but he hasn't really admitted it himself yet. So and I'm like, oh my God, what it's like to be a kid now, to go, you know, that's what it's like. I remember, you know, a very good friend of mine, going back about 10 years, where she was doing a drama lesson, and there were a load of kids in the room, and she was just like, oh, where's Charlie today? And they were like, oh, he's not. These kids were about 14, 15. So, oh, he's not in at the minute. She was like, oh, right, is he not well? They were like, we think he's struggling at the moment because we think he's gay and he doesn't really know. So, and my mate was just like, it's really changing.
But changing fast.
This is crazy. Yeah.
I want to pick up on it because I think the whole perception thing is quite interesting to explore a little bit further, and I'd like to get your views on where you think Folau goes from here.
You're watching the House of Rugby on Joe, together with Guinness.
Still to come, we're going to look ahead to the European Cup semi-finals, and there's another sports-related perfect pour, which you've done about a third of. Get thinking quickly. First, though, here's something else that you might like from Joe.
Thanks, Alex. I'm Russell Kane. This is Boys Don't Cry, the show where we perv in on men's secret thoughts and men and women get to hear exactly what we really think. Every week, I have a panel of 2 men and 1 lady auditor, just in case we stray into stereotypes which she can dispel with inside knowledge. So make sure you subscribe to Boys Don't Cry wherever you get your podcasts. I find mine in the garden.
Thank you, Russell. Don't forget to check out the House of Rugby Facebook. You're on Russell Ken's show this week, aren't you?
I am,
With Chloe.
With Chloe.
First ever married
so I can't
couple.
tell all the decent stories.
No, exactly.
Bulletproof coffees all round.
Yes. Don't forget to check out the House of Rugby Facebook group. Lots of fun things happening on there. Have you been onto that?
What, the House of Rugby Facebook group?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. What happens on there?
I don't know.
I haven't looked at any of the comments ever on any of this stuff.
I've lost my Facebook login. Next time you see Billy, is it sort of hugs, let's move on, or?
Yeah, 100%. So I think in the world of trial by social media, he will very quickly learn that he's made a mistake, or he will, or that he will, you know,
He'll be over next week.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. But because he is a fundamentally good person, and I don't think, you know, he deserves what has happened to him. And, you know, I think it's a genuine mistake, but you don't get to make mistakes now. And I just want to be very clear that I have made mistakes. I will make more mistakes. I was talking about the homophobic language as something that, you know, my generation or my period of time, it was used. You know, people still write to me on my message. If I put like a training photo, people always write, no homo, mate, but you're looking really good. It's like, why do you have to qualify that? Or why do it's not? It's changing. But
have
it
you
still needs to be
noticed
changed.
in the professional game? Well, I'm just going to rephrase that. How far has rugby come since you've been involved in the game?
Far. Like, you know,
was it bad when you were a kiddie coming through?
No. See, rugby, because it's always been, in my mind, extremely inclusive.
Yeah.
And there has always been, you know, like your Ben Cohen's, you know, other people who've done kind of...
Gareth Thomas.
Yeah, Gareth Thomas.
Sam Stanley.
Yeah, Sam. All these guys have kind of... But also, you know, I've done things with Gay Times and Attitude Magazine. Loads of people have. And tried to put their hands up. We've always worn the rainbow laces. Mm-hmm. You know, we've never had to have a problem with adopting them. I know some people, again, who in teams are really religious. They don't want to wear them.
It's amazing. I've had a couple of conversations over the weekend with news journalists who've been picking up on the topic and going, but I mean, is rugby that inclusive? And you just go, yeah, kind of is, and it's been doing a really good job for a number of years. And I'm working in the sport for the last 10 years, and it's been brilliant. And everybody, no one gives a toss for a start. Yeah. So, you know, there's a funny thing that's kind of changed over the last 20 years, or maybe even less, where, you know, there is still an element of coming out all the time because you get a new job and someone asks, you know, whether you're going to be going home to your wife that night. Oh, you should bring your girlfriend next time. Okay, I'm going to have to redress that conversation. And sometimes it might be with someone who you sense might not be too progressive in their thinking, so you then have to work out how you're going to negotiate that. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's
fairly reflective of society as a whole, isn't it? I mean, the problems... Rugby is not alone in this. And you actually, funny enough, there was a fascinating report, I think it was in The Guardian last week, about the state of football. I'm not getting into a rugby football comparison, but there are big problems in football, particularly with racism, but homophobia.
I'm thrilled with how they're finally taking racism by the teeth and trying to do something about it. But it does feel a little bit like the chronology of football is a little bit further behind.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I just think as well, there are so many misnomers about sexuality.
Yeah.
Understand that it's not necessarily even a black and white issue.
Yeah.
That there's a lot of grey area. It's quite fluid, and people confuse sexuality with sexual practice as well a lot of the time, and they don't understand that there are different nuances of that. And I think that's where it gets confusing. And my favourite thing that people who don't understand anything level. If I had a gay teammate, I'm not sure, I'm a bit weird in the shower. And I'm like, why? Why? And he goes, because, Casey fancies me. It's like, let me explain how it works. Just like every bird doesn't fancy you and you don't fancy every bird, just because you're gay doesn't mean you look at every man and go, oh, how are you doing? That's not how it works, you idiot. It's.
By the way, I love the gay Hask.
Yeah. No, I didn't go. I would have gone. I've got a full Bruno voice, but I wouldn't. I didn't. It's really not appropriate when being serious. No, Alex, no, no. So, I would have gone in. I've got a multitude because my dream is to get into to do panto and become a dame, a camp dame. I love that.
Just repeat that for all our listeners who didn't catch it first.
Yeah,
time.
I want to be a dame in a panto. I want to do it one Christmas.
Okay.
Widow
twanky.
Widow twanky. Yeah,
hanky.
100%. So.
Shit, we're going to be doing that at Christmas, aren't we?
That would be great, but I
fully dragged up,
buttons and tins will be
every fancy.
Of course, your buttons. Oh my God, I've
tins
never
will be
met
Prince Charming.
Yeah, of course you will. And I'll be like, but anyway,
come to the house of rugby Christmas
children.
I'll be the Milky Bar kid, as always.
Very good.
But no, so that for me, there is a lot of confusion about it, and I think that, but rugby I think is very progressive. I don't feel there is any problem with that. Statistically, there should be more people out than there are.
Yeah.
Statistically,
how's that list working?
Yeah, sorry.
Statistically.
Passionate, got a lot of phlegm.
Yeah.
Statistically.
Fucking
hell.
Statistically.
Very good. Right, thank you. There should be more people out. And I just think that I don't want to be. I'm not a freedom fighter for sex. All I want people to understand is that if they wake up one day and they feel like it's time for them to say something, even though they shouldn't have to, then I support them. What's wrong? Why is Si laughing?
Just getting a new T-shirt made up. I'm not a freedom fighter for sex.
yeah. It's for sexuality. I just think.
Can we just write that down, please, with a hashtag in front of it?
I just think it's important that. I just want people, my teammates, to be comfortable to turn up to training, because I think the change room and the team environment is a place to be yourself and to be relaxed. And I think that
if you wake up and you love a bit of cock, then just get on with it.
Is that 100%?
Is that a quote or is that? No, it's just a Welsh accent. Yeah. How long do you think until rugby has its first openly gay current player? Because that is the big breakthrough, isn't it? Is that the moment that?
I don't think
or am I making more of it than perhaps?
Yeah, I think we've gone beyond a point where we need that. I think tolerance in rugby is generally so great that I don't think you need. I mean, Nigel Owens is at the refereeing. I mean, referees would in many walks of life in various sports, are there to be 8 figures anyway. So if you wanted to lump his sexuality into it, it would be pretty easy to do. Yeah. But everybody. But it's perfectly fine with
But I think it's right. But interesting enough as well, again, it's just stereotyping. There's a lot of stereotypes as well that we just need. There's a bit better education, understanding that, when Gareth Thomas played, he was one of the most uncompromising players ever. Yeah. I think people think you're going to be like falling all over and go, oh my God, I just can't, I was going to do it in the voice again, sorry.
You're itching to bring it out.
No, I'm not. Yeah. But I just think with a bit of education, understanding and taking a bit of interest in it, and you just want people to be happy, then that for me is really important.
So here's a question. Am I going to, in no way excusing anything that's happened, but I wonder, you said in a week it'll all be over. I just actually wonder whether there's quite a lot of positivity to come out of this, which is, and we talk about kids who potentially will read the Israel Folau tweet and think, oh God, I'm on my way to hell. Actually, if they stand back and look at the overall reaction to what has happened within the game, you would imagine a lot more kids will be thinking, actually, the backlash to someone who's come out and been, homophobic is such now that actually I do feel quite comfortable that I will have the support of the rugby community.
Yeah, and all those people
when I make that decision
that have probably just thought James Haskell was an idiot, now thinking, actually
he is an idiot, but
he really stands by me and is sticking up for me. And if Israel Folau is going to tell me I'm going to hell, I'll call up my mate James, who's probably twice the size of him, and that he's on my side. But no, I mean, there's definitely that.
It
that
feels
sense
very much like Israel and Billy are very much in the minority here.
Yeah, but then this is where you end up on that sort of delicate point of people going, well, why are they being made to be in the minority? Because they're standing by their religious beliefs, and people should be allowed to believe what they believe, and you can get kind of sucked back into that argument again, I guess. But for me, it will always just come down to that point. You can believe what you believe, a little like you said earlier. Believe what you believe, get up to what, whoever is sinning in your eyes, fine. But do you need to actively go out there and say that, whether you're a preacher? I mean, the preachers are generally doing it in the church to the converted anyway. But if you're a high-profile sports person, you might not have chosen to want to be a role model. You just were the best person at rugby, and you're earning a lot of money doing it, and you're playing for an international team or whatever. But you have got that audience, and if you're going to voluntarily put that out there, and it's ultimately hate speech, then why?
Yeah, but interesting. I conduct I have some certain.
It's not very nice.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you.
Start off.
I mean, I have certain opinions about some specific things that I wouldn't talk about on the show, and I will sometimes voice them in the confines of the changing room. But I am also aware when I look around sometimes that I am saying stuff that may affect other people. So I have said, there are some very religious people.
What?
Well, I don't know, just some specifics about, say, my views on certain religions and certain bits and pieces and certain what I feel is the hand of man in a lot of things. Trying to put their interpretation on stuff, because if you ever watch The Life of Brian, there's a very famous scene where the shoe falls off, and 4 different people are like, follow the shoe, and then other people are like, no, follow the gourd, and it's leaving the shoe means we've all got to throw off our shoes. It's a really great thing to illustrate that we're all struggling through this earth. Essentially, we're hoping there's stuff outside of death, and we're all trying to ease our path through it. And if you need religion to help you do that, and that's great. But I've said things about some interpretations. I realise I've got really religious teammates, and I don't want to be disrespectful, because I know people don't wear rainbow laces. Some guys will not wear them, point blank. But that doesn't worry me, because they're doing it silently. They're not. Everyone is entitled to have their own opinion. I just think where you cross the line is where you enforce it on somebody else, and I think that that's why I went over this particularly. But the sad thing for me is that Israel Folau for me is probably up there with one of the most favourite players to have ever played the game.
The World Cup will be a poorer place without him in it as a player. I
sit down and have said, we always joke around going, if you had any players' abilities or skills, I must have said 20 times, if you could give me Israel Folau's ability, his physique, his running, his footwork, everything, his skill set, I take it. And he was the number one guy. So, I didn't have any predisposition to doing this. I just felt very strongly about it, and I hope there is a lot more positivity that comes out of this, and we understand, and we're able to be level-headed, and we realise that it isn't attacking religion, and hopefully, people don't use this as an excuse just to be upset, because people get very upset about everything in 2019, and you've got to. If you've got any intelligence, you have to wade through the bullshit and know what to apologise and know what to not apologise. I am a role model by the sheer fact of the volume of followers I have. I don't necessarily want to be, because I make mistakes. I always want to put my hand up and say I make mistakes.
I've got a lot of sympathy for people who don't, I don't think, people often say, but because you're XX, you're a role model. It's just like, but not necessarily by choice.
Yeah, and I think if you pretend as well that you're something you're not, that's where you get caught out. That's where you get 10 times worse. If you tell someone you're something, but then I mean, for example, if I said this, I suddenly find me beating up a load of gay guys, it's not going to be, just because it's not going to happen. But there are things that I might mistake, like I've sworn, certain brands, people might not want to work with me because they just don't know what's going to come out of my mouth next. But I'm willing to do that because I want to be true to myself. I don't want to pretend I don't swear. I don't want to pretend that I don't say inappropriate things. I don't want to pretend that I'm loud and brash, because if you get caught doing that, the fall from grace is far worse than just to say I'm a normal human, I make mistakes like everyone else, and that's it.
What does the future hold for Flolau?
I mean, I've spoken to a few people that think he's still not going to have his contract terminated. Mm-hmm. I mean, the hours are ticking down as we speak in the 48-hour window, I think, that Rugby Australia have given him to appeal. I don't know if he will. don't know if he can on the
I heard
basis.
on fairly good authority that he doesn't think he's done anything wrong and therefore will fight it.
Oh right, okay. Well then, shows what I know.
Someone told me he wants to get out of the contract.
Yeah,
I mean that's the way to do it.
NRL have already said we're inclusive. You're not coming here.
What I love is that it ultimately went NRL and Morad. Both went no.
Yes,
it's just
exactly.
those are the only two people we needed to consult.
Exactly.
But the best bit is that someone else,
Trump has probably said he won't be coming here.
Someone
either.
else will take it up, because if you remember, a
rough diamond in the north.
Well, I mean, look, a former teammate of mine who called someone a game a faggot, and went through a judiciary process, and they found that. Because the guy wasn't
fairly
gay.
high profile.
Yeah, fine.
I mean, Matthew Baster.
Yeah, fine. But I like Matthew. Again, he's another guy I like. Some people do stupid things and make mistakes. And again, when stuff has become common parlance, then that's why I don't want to turn around and say I'm not white and white, because you will probably at some point catch me, because there's that very famous thing with the guy, that comedian, the Malaysian comedian from that thing that goes "ha, gay" from a funny clip on TV. I must have done that about 20 times. I'm not doing it because I think it's correct. I'm doing it because it's from a very funny clip in a movie, because the guy's talking about feelings. But that's because it's wrong, and I don't want to pretend that I don't make fucking mistakes. But he said that. It's just.
Oh, we've got a beautiful barmaid this evening.
Glamorous
Give everyone
waitress.
away. Mrs. Haskell. How are we doing?
Good.
How are we getting on?
Good.
Yeah, all inclusive?
Yeah, I'm drinking Guinness.
Happy days.
It's good, isn't it?
Well,
Nice.
You're very
Are you
welcome.
tracking it? Yeah, MyFitnessPal.
Yeah.
No
Thank you,
slip-ups, all right?
See a little bit. You've got your wife well trained.
No, she's not. She runs the show, mate.
Yeah,
It's
she
not.
does.
It's
I haven't seen the
2019.
way that
You
she
can't
dragged
well
you in
train a
here.
woman, because we'll get
Thanks, Chloe.
Yeah, we'll get another someone on here.
Oh God, am I now in trouble for
You're
doing
now
that?
a misogynist arsehole. I am a misogynist arsehole.
Yeah.
It's fine. But no, I think I can't remember what I was saying before she came in now.
Blinded by love.
No, but so
talking
people,
about.
yeah, people make. So I just think that's really important to understand, and that I'm sure there will be some French club that would take him and go, well, actually, we're a bit thin. Because I've noticed that actually in change rooms I've been in, that when people will say things like faggot or something, or whatever it might happen, it slips out, someone will correct them, and that for me is really important, because
Yeah, well, that's amazing.
because
yeah,
there'll be nothing worse than somebody saying it who isn't homophobic, and that is the one problem. And that's what's happened to Billy, is that he is not homophobic. Or in my experience isn't, but has said something that has aligned him with that feeling, and I'm terrified that somebody who is not will slip up and
get
say
persecuted for it.
and get prosecuted for it, or get caught for it, and the public opinion, the court of public opinion, social media will not allow that to for him to get away with it. And
Well, the Kangaroo Court of Ashton Gate was determined to boo him for it all at the weekend. And
What did you make of that?
I
was it Sarri? Were you at the game or not?
No, but I've seen video, and I know I've spoken to people that were there.
Was it Sarri's fans booing Billy, or was it Bristol fans?
I don't know.
Don't know.
But
the rumours that there were Sarri's fans as well. I mean,
Really?
I hope for Billy it's a flash in the pan, and
Bristol's
it's a
done
lesson
an
learned.
amazing job.
They
Their
played
social media
It's Raining
team
Men
played
at
It's
the end,
Raining
yeah.
Men right at the end. I know their social media team have sort of turned round to the owners and said, "How do you want us to if it's not homophobic or xenophobic or racist or genderist, and you're hovering over doing it, just do it. Let's have a lot of fun." So they created quite an all-in attitude as a club, and so I don't know how much of that permeated a bit of the pantomime about it, but I certainly don't agree with it. Don't stand by it at all, because as much as I still think you kind of have to stand back and go, well, Billy is in no way putting out what Israel has done, and through what he said, he's not putting anyone in any harm, which is my beef with Izzy. So it's going to be my book, isn't it? My beef with Izzy.
Forward by James Haskell.
Maybe it'll be a cookbook.
What next time you interview Billy? Firm handshake, professional, or would you like to discuss it?
I don't feel a major need to discuss it. I'd be intrigued to know what his like of the post meant. It might have just been I was just supporting Izzy because he's a fellow Christian, and I go, yeah, fair enough. Yeah. You've got your beliefs, and I don't particularly. It's none of my business, because Billy hasn't got previous, and hopefully not future, of putting something out there that is liable to cause harm to any young men or women struggling to come to terms with their sexuality. I've interviewed him in the past. He's been great. He's got even better over the last 2-3 years as an interviewee, the more comfortable he's got within his own skin, and he's good fun. So yeah, I would love the chance just to be normal, be a journalist and a player, and have a bit of a chat. Yeah.
There's one thing that I also want to take just comment on is that people who say, "Can't you just live and let live?" Can't you just walk past it?
Let them believe what they're believing.
Yeah, and you just get on with yourself. And if you don't pay any attention, don't worry about it. And some people have written that. People I know, people have said, "Oh, it doesn't affect me. If you don't concentrate on it or you don't worry about it, then don't pay any attention to it." Mm-hmm. But a female MMA fighter commented under my post, "Can't we just live and let live? You're preaching hate by saying that this is unacceptable, right?" But my point to her was, if we just live and let live, she wouldn't have had the vote. The point is, if you don't stand up for shit you believe in, if you don't call bullshit, if you don't stop inappropriate stuff, you don't progress as a society. So that's why, lots of things in the world piss me off. Do I go on a rant and a mission to sort it out? No, because there's some things are winnable, some things aren't. I'd like to think that I have enough influence in rugby that within reason, if I said something, that it would hopefully help in the right way. And you can't live and let live because his comments.
That's a bit of the reason as to why I wanted to say something as well. Because I thought, well, actually, journalistically, I can make a comment on this. I am coming at it from an LGBT background, and so this affects me directly, what this guy's saying, and I think I'm down within my rights to be able to say something that might get a bit of traction, maybe a dozen or 20 retweets, and we'll be fine. Holy shit, it's completely taken off.
Where did you end up in it? I mean, you touched on it earlier as to you had comments from... around the sporting world, was it? I mean, it went bananas.
A few people, and Scott Hastings got in touch and told me about his son, and that was a really beautiful, supportive message. Danny Kerr, Chris Robshaw got in touch, Nemani Nandolo, quite a few different people. Will Carling as well, who said, I think it's great that you've said what you've said. I wish you didn't have to say it, and I don't feel necessarily I had to say it, but I wanted to say it because a lot of people were piling in on, oh my God, why have you said this ridiculous stuff about all these sinners? Just keep your mouth shut. It was just like, to be fair, if he wants to start putting bits and pieces out about his religion, that's fine. My issue is just with one little bit of it, and that's why you might find the LGBT community up in arms. It's not just hating the idea that Izzy's spouting a religious opinion. It's that he's catching us up in it.
Who was it that said evil prospers when good people do nothing?
Yeah, I don't know, but it's a very apt,
someone like that.
It's a very apt saying because that is the point, and it's not. And again, I'll caveat this by saying, people go, well, why haven't you attacked Billy? It's because I picked up the phone and I spoke to him, and I know him. I have intimate knowledge of him. I played, Wasps all the way through. He's not that kind of person. He's not that person. It was a mistake. It was naive. It was saying it the wrong way. The other guy, he knew exactly what he was doing, and that's the unexcusable part. And I think
it's interesting that he said, since being approached after it, if God's plan is for me to stop playing footy, then so be it.
God works in mysterious ways is the excuse. Yeah,
I'm sure I'm not a religious person, but I'm sure forgiveness is in there somewhere. Hopefully there will be a kind of
the religion where you can do what you want and just apologise, and then you get into heaven anyway.
Okay, which one's that? My uncle's in Hare Krishna actually.
Shut up.
Lives out in India.
Amazing.
Nice.
We'll do a special from out in Mayapur one time.
I looked at all of them. I thought I bought a book on Buddhism the other day.
It's probably the closest one. Humanism's my one.
Yeah. I just thought
ultimately you give thanks for the farmers and the doctors and the nurses and kind of tangible things, and just
Amen to that.
Hope the crops will be successful and everything, and ultimately treat everybody like you'd like to be treated, and
that's
crack
it.
on.
And just a bit of self-awareness and
Should we talk about some rugby very quickly?
Yeah, please do.
So producer Si said, get to the perfect pool. You've got 10-second answers on. Is anyone in Europe playing as well as Danny Cipriani right now? I'll come to you as the journalist.
He's certainly, producing ridiculous magical moments a lot. And I think some people think it's showboating. I think the players that are foxed by it don't feel like they've been showboated against. They just go, Jesus, that was good, and I've been made to look a monkey.
If he plays against Owen Farrell in the semi-final and goes well, is that the make or break game for him in a World Cup context? It's just not going to happen, full stop. You're shaking your head.
Yeah, I don't think Eddie Jones is ever going to take him to the World Cup.
I think my personal views of Sippy have always been that he's incredibly talented. That I've never seen a player during that World Cup 2015 warm-up game in France that came off the bench and he single-handedly got us back into the game. Yeah. And I can't remember if it was a draw or we lost by a couple of points or whatever it was, but he turned it from an embarrassment into something else. He is somebody that is hugely misunderstood. He's made loads of mistakes, but his rugby's doing the talking, and that's all that matters. And I think you started re-signing at Gloucester. The very fact that Wasps sat down and wanted to get him back.
A few others as well.
A few others. I hope that he just keeps doing what he does, and that you keep knocking down the door. And that's the one thing as a player, all you can do is keep going back to the well, turning up and playing, and the rest is outside of his control. And that's all you're going to ever do is worry about what you can control. At the moment, he is doing a grand job of playing extremely well, and I think he's the best head in England at the moment.
Which the more people talk about, the less chance there is of Eddie picking him. Because
don't pick me.
I think don't pick out. I think Eddie took him on the tour to South Africa because he thought, here is a chance for me to watch him drown in a way. But
very nearly did in that third test. He was so wet.
But satisfy the clamour and go, well, look, I gave him a shot and it didn't really work out. So that's that conversation finished. And then he goes and produces a moment of madness where you can see the incumbent Owen Farrell behind him going, oh my God, what have you done? Johnny May scored.
Won the game.
And
magic, not madness.
Yes.
Kick. Yeah.
It's a fine line, isn't it?
But
what madness?
Magic and madness.
But that was
fine line between magic and madness.
Sorry, if you could pop a couple of consonants into your sentence.
No, I'm speaking fine. It's this shitting mic.
It's not this.
I'm going to get a proper mic next week.
But ultimately, Cipriani in that game turned around and gave Eddie Jones a headache because he's like, oh God, he's gone and played well now. So now this is going to rumble on and rumble on. When I think all Eddie's looking at is
but I think Eddie likes
George Ford. But
you guys are good at 10 seconds. You must clock up a lot of time.
Go on then.
Does that work? No, not really. Sean Edwards with Wales, not going to Wigan.
I'm very surprised at that.
Are you?
Because I know he was trying to talk to some other Premiership clubs as well. I thought he might be coming back, but now he might stay.
They can have two defence coaches, Wales, under Wayne Pivac.
Sean will be the boss. Okay. There's no way around.
Do you think he stayed on though beyond? Like, surely with the end of that era, would it not be like, right now go and do something else? Is it? I mean, I know he's not left to go back, but does it feel a bit like never go back and
a little bit?
On?
He did that a bit with Wasps, though, didn't he? He sort of came back a little bit for. Didn't he when he stayed on when Warren
Gats left?
Yeah,
he stayed on,
and did a few bits and pieces. So I think Sean's just got an incredible passion for the game and for Wales and for rugby. I think he absolutely loves it. He's always on like a journey of kind of improving, and every time people go quiet, he then comes back to the fore and delivers unbelievable defence. And you see the passion of him in that box. I love it.
Yeah.
He is one of the best coaches I've ever worked with. Such a good man.
Damien, we've reached that point now where injuries mean you miss the World Cup, and Damien Mckenzie, arguably the biggest profile to sort of lead the way. How big a loss to New Zealand?
I mean, they've always got plenty of people in the wings, but I think
versatility is a massive blow.
Yeah, I think he became the owner of the 23 shirt for long enough, which sort of proved how useful he was to them. And he sort of starts a fair amount of games as well. But I think he's a big loss. In the same way that Israel is to Australia.
But I tell you what,
or could be.
Exactly right. New Zealand have a conveyor belt. For every two players that you think are amazing, there's three lads you haven't even heard of or haven't even seen
probably
yet.
Even better.
Yeah, they're playing in the second team at the Blues.
Yeah, who can't get a game.
Haven't you seen this 21-year-old? And suddenly he turns up the next week and I
mean, Damien Mckenzie, if you watch him, I watched him in the Under-20s World Cup and I thought, he's tiny. I thought, he's never going to make it. And he had unbelievable skill. And then I saw some highlight bits of him and then he started playing Super 15 or Super 8, whatever it is. And I was like, oh, dear Lord. Appropriate. He was
jet shoes.
He was incredible, and the things he could do. And then when he tackled Nandolo into touch and stuff like that, and his footwork and that weird smiley thing he does when he kicks the ball. I thought he was amazing. Again, he's another one I looked at going, I wish I had skills instead of the thing I've been given, which is absolutely knout.
Just bosh.
There was more to my game than that, actually.
Was there?
Anyway, I played myself down. I thought you were going to talk me up, but you didn't.
No.
I was virtue signalling.
What was the best bit of your game? Or what is? Because we're obviously still...
No, there isn't a lot left. Humour. Off-field activities. Changing room chat.
If humour is at the top of your rugby CV...
It's time to call it a day.
It's time to call it a day.
Probably is, yeah.
Sarries Munster on Saturday. Interesting to see if Billy starts. The winner will be, Conor Murray saying this week, European Cup, or European Champions Cup as it now is the one that he desperately wants. Can Munster do it?
I think there's a curious element of the loss to Bristol about Saracens in a kind of intake of breath ahead of this weekend. and I struggle to see them not doing it.
It's always a good thing when you lose. You remember Wasps back in the day went down and got beaten by Leicester 48.
Oh my God, that's still it was like an 85-point swing in a week.
Yeah, Tom Boyce's teeth got knocked out. Probably did him a favour actually, because he used to have to go to a vet to get them fixed and
filed down like a horse.
I didn't know whether to shake his hand or give him a sugar lump. Honestly, the amount of polos he went through Wasps, and so he got his teeth knocked out, and Joe Worsley, I remember, Big Henry Tuolangi, who actually messaged me.
Did he? What did he say? It was a very good tale. I love you, Mum.
When I saw the message, I was like, oh, please don't say I've actually upset one of them, please. I don't want the Tuolangi on my back. He was very funny.
Said?
Oh, he loved it. He said he found it very funny, and he said to me that, he used to knock a few people out, but back in the day, he used to put the magic sponge on their heads, and, you do the same bloke 3 or 4 times, and then it'd be absolutely fine. 2019, snowflakes, everyone's going off. Obviously, I'm not belittling HIA, it's very important.
You say you're always making mistakes.
Yeah. I'm not mocking it, but that's what happened. And he said the titanium adamantium arm shield was
like
allowed.
A bumper.
Yeah. And he told me that he drank, when he was standing by the drinks, he was drinking all the Cokes. He didn't touch any of the vodka. He was just standing there.
Guarding.
But I said to him, look, Henry, I love you. I just didn't, I was terrified, but he's such a good guy. He was inviting me to go for a feed with him, so you might never see me again.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm going to, he might give me a few drinks and that'll be it, gone.
You're the feed.
Leinster Toulouse. Last rugby question. These are not exactly 10-second answers. Toulouse playing well enough?
Yeah, potentially.
Leinster lost at home to Glasgow at the weekend, didn't they?
Yeah. Again, it's that kind of thing as to where's the concentration, and when, with the Irish provinces, we might just not play a few of these players and then bring them back for the big ones. So, Leinster playing in the Aviva, their home stadium, which I still find a bit curious. But I think that is one of the toughest places for a French club to go to. I'm going to sit firmly on the fence, I'm afraid.
I'm going to say Leinster.
So Leinster Sarries final.
Yeah.
In Newcastle. We shall see.
I know nothing about rugby, so don't put your money on it. I don't encourage gambling either.
Time for this week's Guinness.
Sure.
Guinness.
Sure, perfect.
Guinness. Pour. Our weekly test in 119.5 seconds, because that's how long it takes to pour the perfect pint. This week, and perhaps for the final time, given Hask's controversial WhatsApp stance, you're running out of patience with it.
I think we've done the teams. I think we're just
we're just getting started.
I think the well has run dry. I mean, look, unless anyone can send in something really sensible to do other than this, or some other creative teams, but I think they're just
lost interest when we weren't allowed to do serial killers or sexual offenders.
Predators, yeah. We want to do a Hot Men 15 as well.
My Hot Men 15 was very good.
My Hot Men 15 was really good.
Yeah, I started with Zac Efron, and
we were doing rugby players.
I had Danny Care.
You just went.
I had Danny Care at 9, but only front on, because if you can't look at Danny Care's side on.
Why?
He's got a big nose, so he'll never let you photograph him.
Is that right?
Yeah,
he runs around the camera in a panoramic.
He's like a 360. He just stays front on.
He does have an arse like 2 bunnies fighting under a sheet.
Right. Have you used any commentary?
Yeah. Not yet.
Not yet.
I know we were talking about how progressive society is.
We're breaking down barriers, Nick, but let's get one barrier at a time.
There are enough innuendos you can squeeze into rugby commentary as it is.
That is very true. Dimitri Zarzewski will always be the most beautiful rugby player. He played like he was in a Pantene advert.
Yeah, he was at Stade Francais with me, and we should look at him like, you are so dreamy. A great rig on him, really dreamy. Dan Carter, Chloe volunteered Dan Carter at 10.
Oh, that's just too easy.
No, but she's, I think she's got a bit of a shine to him.
Martin Hernandez.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Probably at 12, actually, because you've got to have Carter in there, because he's
Dan Carter would probably sort of be like a fish in bed, just like, I'm so pretty, you're going to have to do all the work.
Yeah. What is it about really good-looking people who just don't put any effort in? It's bizarre.
You must go like the Clappers, Hask.
Wait. I've got a fucking PhD in it. Honestly.
Like a piston engine.
Honestly, the work I put in, you wouldn't believe it. I'm flat out 24 hours a day.
No wonder you're so well built. Rigatoni.
Yeah.
Nice pause.
I've completely lost what the hell we're meant to be doing. It's an Other Sports 15. Welcome along to the game. The best players from across the sporting spectrum, with the caveat that there cannot be more than one player from either Rugby League or the NFL. How many holes have you got in your team?
I've got 2.
Nick, have you got a full team?
Yeah.
Right. Nick, you go first. Hask, you've got 30 seconds to...
15 or 1? Where are we going?
You can go wherever you like as a commentator. Take us through your team sheet.
All right. At the back, Billy Slater. Aussie Rugby League legend.
Yes.
They effectively had to change the rule book to accommodate his form of play. Well, they used to, because he was so good at the back, they used to have to continue kicking the ball as deep as possible, to the point that it would then go out at the end and they'd restart. So then they decided they actually had to take he was allowed to restart again, and it would be 7 tackles effectively because of. I'm not describing it very well, but anyway.
To have the law book rewritten for you is quite an
Can I
accolade.
just talk about the league? Sorry, Sam Burgess wants to come on.
Does he?
Yeah. He's such a boy as well. I love that man.
Just hold that thought.
Can I tell you one story just quickly about Sam Burgess in extra time?
Yeah.
Because it's the best.
It's a little bonus.
It's a little bonus. So I was driving out of Penny Hill while Sam Burgess was driving into Penny Hill, and I was sitting in my car.
Is that because you'd been dropped for Sam Burgess? Was it like an official handover?
No, it was a Tuesday afternoon, you cheeky prick. He didn't even play in my position.
Chloe's laughing, by the way.
I know, I could hear her cackling. You can hear her like a witch. She'd be great in Wicked. Steady. And so I'm driving out. He's coming in. It's a Tuesday afternoon, so I had a bit of time off. And as I come in, he looks at me, and I got the window down, and he goes, "All right, Shagger," right? And I turned and I looked at Chloe, who was sitting in the seat next to me. And I literally was like, "Hi, Sam. Why are you calling me that?" And he looked at me and saw Chloe. He's like, "Hi, Chloe." And Chloe's face was like, tight smile. And I drove out the gate and she went, "Why are you called Shagger?" And I was like, "Well, he's never called me that before. He's never called me that before." And she goes, "I don't believe you. Why is he calling you Shagger?" I was like, "Chloe, I can't tell you. He has never called me that before." She goes, "Is that your nickname? Is that your nickname? Shagger, is it?" I was like, "No, I promise you. Look at this setup. I'm not doing any drilling. There's nothing to be talking about." So anyway, I've managed to talk her off, calm her down, to put her to gas mark 6 instead of gas mark 20.
Gas mask.
Sorry.
You just have to roll with it. You have to interpret it as you go.
What you've got here, by the way, is Alex Payne and Alex Payne light, because all the gigs that he says no to, they go, "Oh, we'll probably have to get Nick Heath."
I don't know about that. I'm not going to. It's not the work.
Stop you having a loving. So anyway, I went out and managed to calm her down. Anyway, fast forward 2 days, I'm back in at Penny Hill, actually post game, and Rob Webber is there with his wife, and he walks up and he goes, "All right, Shagger," and I was like, "For fuck's sake!" So Chloe does not believe that wasn't my nickname, and after she's like, tight smile again. "Why are you called Shagger?" "Rob Webber's called you Shagger, but Burgess called you Shagger."
And Burgess has spread the word.
No.
Why are you called Shagger?
No reason. There's no reason for it.
If Chloe wasn't here, you'd show.
No, I wouldn't. It was just a complete stitch-up, but the worst possible timing. But it's the very fact that Rob Webber did me in the eye, or as my dad called him, Ron Webber.
No. Will Chignall called him Roy Webber for 45 minutes on commentary.
My dad,
he did. Yeah.
My dad called him Ron Webber, and
Ricky Flutney was the other.
Ricky Flutney. But Rob Webber came up to him and he said, "It's like Hasmet." He goes, if your dad calls me Ron Webber all the time, I'm going to bang him out. And I was like, "Dad, stop calling him Ron Webber." He's like, "Oh, sorry, son. Sorry, Ron. Yeah. And he still calls him Ron to this day. Idiot.
Piss pronunciation.
My brother played in the varsity match about 8 years ago.
Of course he did.
And my dad, on the way in, bumped into Matt Stevens and thought Matt Stevens was one of my brother's teammates, and so went up to Matt and said, "Why are you walking out? You should be coming in. Bert's about to play. And Matt Stevens, instead of saying, "Who the fuck are you?" went, "Really? Okay." And they sort of walked back into the stadium together.
Amazing.
Did you deliver it with enough conviction?
Yeah. So Matt was like, "What the hell's going on?" And just sort of found himself back in the stadium watching the thing. But I got him to sign a match programme. He's a very good boy, Matt.
Really, he's very funny.
Yeah.
He is. Paul Doran-Jones got called. Someone came up to him and went, "All right, Steve Thompson," and he's never been more wounded because Tomo didn't have the best setup.
Big lad.
Yeah, didn't like that. So I carry on. I interrupt you.
So you've done this at 15, I think.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I half thought about Freddie Flintoff at 15.
Sorry, start again.
Well, 15 we had Billy Slater.
Right? Good, yeah, well done, progress.
I thought about Freddie Flintoff there, safe pair of hands at the back, all that kind of thing. But 14, I took a bit of advice on this one. Saquon Barkley, the running back for the New York Giants.
Strong.
I wondered about Christian Wade, obviously, but he's actually played rugby, so I guess that probably wouldn't be allowed.
I like Barkley.
I've gone with a bit of self-interest here. Touch World Cup coming up in Malaysia at the end of this month. Dom Tripp, England touch captain of the Men's Open, so I've gone with him at 13.
Very good.
More people should be playing
proper touch. Going to lead England?
Yes.
To victory?
Where
do they sit in the rankings?
Australia are damn hot. Right. But they will. They'll do a decent job. New Zealand aren't bad. The Japanese aren't bad. They've got a lot.
Are you playing?
I'm not. No, I withdrew. But my husband's playing for the men's 30s. Wow. So wishing all the boys the best of luck, and the girls, because there's mixed teams and women's teams.
Good
and
luck.
Everything as well. 12. Stephen Gerrard,
strong
midfield general.
Yeah, like that.
Johan Blake, left wing.
Yeah.
Roger Federer as your fly
Very
half.
nice. Oozing class.
Yeah,
I like
control, tempo. Conor McGregor at 9.
Very good.
Constant chat.
Yeah.
Thanks to my nephew for that one. That was a decent shout. Into the pack then, we could go front row, Jeff Capes and Raymond van Barneveld.
Very good, yeah. Well, I'd have Barneveld at 2 because the arrows.
Oh, would you? Oh, well, I went with Adebayo Akinfenwa.
Yes, you can have that. Yeah, you can have that.
He quite likes getting his head in.
Strong. Bit like an ox.
Yeah. Second row, Boban Marjanovic, the
No idea.
Philadelphia 76ers or something. Anyway, yeah, really knowledgeable on that. 7'3" though.
That works at the
Basketball,
front. Yeah.
So that'll do. Andre the Giant.
Very nice. I like what we've done there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ballast.
Yeah. 6, I don't know, Steve Redgrave. I wanted to throw in there.
Yeah, I like that.
There's a lot of
energetic, gives you a full 80 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's no shying away.
Can see that coming together.
7, Tiger Woods, good over the ball.
I see what you've done there. I think the pun is stronger than his breakdown work.
Entirely true.
Okay.
Entirely true. And 8, AJ Anthony Joshua.
Good. I've gone with Joshua at 8 as well. Very good. Very tidy. I like a very complete selection.
Thanks,
I'm a little bit worried about where we're going here.
No,
sparse. A couple of bit of polyfiller going in.
No. Number
James,
1, Michael Orr from the movie Blindside. Massive guy.
But he's an actor.
No, but it's based on a character. It's based on the player was Michael Orr.
Yeah, I know it's a true story. Oh, it's C.
Yeah.
Right, sorry. Good hands.
Very professional.
That's why I'm in the studio.
Yeah.
I'll get it later.
Don't worry about that. Don't need it, mate. You don't need it.
I really don't want to put my head into your lap right now. No, keep going.
Oh, I can't get it. Number 2, Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah,
great.
Very lightweight, very sculpt Brits as a hooker.
Number 3 is I don't think it's pronounced. Hakuchuo. Hakuchuo is the current sumo champion. He's had more wins than anyone else.
All right.
I thought about someone sumo. Yeah.
Hakuchuo something. I don't know.
Let's meet him when we're in Japan.
Number 4, LeBron James.
Yeah, I thought that, but my other half, who's a big basketball fan, said no chance because the slightest bit of contact or fuss, and he's just a complete wetty, and he's on the floor moaning about it. So
is that technical term, wetty? I don't think you know how big he is. I wouldn't call him a Mr. Wet. I'd be like
Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, maybe a 6.
Number 5, Peter Cech. He wears a scrum cap.
He gets blown over. He's a very lightweight 7.
Yeah.
No.
Second row.
Yeah. Well, you got LeBron. He's got a lot of. He's about 120 or something. Number 6, Keith Senior.
Like that very much. Yeah.
Crashball Keith Senior. 7, I had Conor McGregor. Really good, low over the ball.
Oh, you went 7. Okay. Yeah.
Conor McGregor.
8, I had Serena Williams.
Yeah.
I think should be good on the ball carry.
Pick
Great footwork, powerful.
Yeah.
Number 9, AP McCoy.
I was thinking about
lovely.
AP. Like that, the champ.
Yeah. I had 10, Roger Federer.
Good.
Pulling strings, very calm, collected. 11, Usain Bolt.
Strong, I've done that.
Wheels.
I went with Blake just because I thought he'd be a bit stockier. But
12, Ronnie O'Sullivan. Unbelievable on the break. You're welcome. I had 13, Saquon Barkley for his footwork and carrying. 14, I couldn't think of anyone.
You couldn't think of a 14.
No, and then I had
put Christian Wade in there. You know, for
5 foot Wadey, Christian Wade at number 14.
If we're allowed.
Make it up yourselves at home. Mike Tyson at 1, Hulk Hogan at 2, Big Daddy at 3.
Oh.
Amazing.
Dominating front row.
Power.
Kobe Bryant and The Undertaker in the second row.
Lovely. Is wrestling a sport?
That's another show on that. Sam Burgess at 6.
Good.
See what I've done there?
Yeah, he was a quality 6.
He was.
I was more of a 7.
Conor McGregor at 7, Anthony Joshua at 8. I've gone Beckham's at 9 and 10, Odell at 9, David at 10.
Cheeky.
That's very good. You've thought a lot about this.
I did it in 30 seconds. Bolt at 11, Zinedine Zidane at 12 with Federer, lovely, graceful at 13.
Oh, the Guscut style.
Dashing
this
outside
might be
break.
the first week you actually win.
Lewis Hamilton on the right wing and Tiger at 15. How good?
Because no waitresses get past him.
See what we've done there, yeah. Just sinks everything. How good was Tiger, just as a sort of a sports nose?
Amazing.
Do you have any interest in golf?
Yeah, I do. But for things like that, I absolutely love the fact that he's had a comeback because
everyone loves a comeback.
But it would be so easy for him to have given in. And he is a prime example of somebody that was living a double life, that pretended to be holier than thou, perfect, and his fall from grace was so big. What I don't understand and this is what I talk about a lot when we talk about Tiger Woods, is why somebody didn't have a word in his ear. Because obviously when his old man was around, there's lots of stories about him being very controlling, making him practice, being very intense. And obviously when his old man passed away, he then, was even more kind of into whatever he was doing. Why did not someone whisper in his ear and go, Tiger, I don't want to talk out of turn, but it hasn't escaped my knowledge that you are knocking in everything that you meet indiscriminately. Now, you are the most famous sportsman in the world. Might I suggest you don't get married, because you will still be a $500 million to $800 million athlete. We could, if you get married and create the family and everything else, be $1 billion athlete and be whiter than white and epitomise family values. But if you get caught, which you will do, because you keep shagging Denny's waitresses, keep doing everything, and your wife is not stupid, your fall from grace will be massive. But no one did that. And that's why it's important not to have yes men around you, because when he fell from grace, it was terrible, and it took him so long, and through injury, through everything. But what an amazing story that he dug in, has a new partner, has a new family. And
is this where we link it back to the early part of the pod and go, but James, why didn't you say something?
Yeah, why did I call up? Because I didn't know. If I'd known, that's what I can't understand, why someone didn't turn around and tap him on the shoulder. I'd like to think if someone around me said...
Do you think perhaps people did?
No, nobody would have done. There's no way. Someone should just... Good advice. Tiger...
You're being a fool.
You're gonna get caught. You're gonna get caught, and I promise you.
About all the shagging.
Yeah. And when one person comes out, they all will come out. As soon as they smell a bit of a cash deal, everyone's in there. I was going to even write a story that he shagged me, but not even he would lower his standards to me, unfortunately. Sad case of this.
That would be quite a story, actually.
I tell you what, if I could get away with it, if it was true, I would 100% sell it. But sadly, it's never happened. I've never met him. I would like to, though.
Would you? What would you ask him?
I think now...
It's like the George Best thing.
Yeah.
When he was lying on the bed, surrounded by champagne, cash and birds. And
Yeah, spent all my money on...
and the bellboy walked in with lunch and said, George, where did it all go wrong? Best was like, I can't think it's going okay.
Well, he said that he spent all his money on women, fast cars and gambling, and the rest he wasted. Yeah.
I think that's been quite a powerful show. I think you genuinely, I'm saying this genuinely, I think 27 shows in, you've delivered a consummate performance. Genuinely, I think you've backed up your fury on social media. Would you agree with that?
Yes, well, I think the great thing for the LGBT community and for just tolerant, lovely people at large is to have people who have the sort of profile that James has, brown-nosing, imminent, saying what they say and standing up for people, and it is important. And like you said earlier, the backlash and the reaction ends up being more powerful than where that initial message might go. One hopes there will still be people that will stand by on religious grounds for what he said. But and for the record, thanks for having me on, guys, because it's nice to be able to get my opinion and know that you're happy for me to convey it as well, because hopefully that's just as important as well.
Well, thank you for coming on, and hopefully we'll have you back on very soon, just to sort of stick to slightly more positive rugby stories. Talk rather rugby. Than
the way he delivered the intro that you'll see on social media in one take. It took me 2 takes, took you 4 takes. I think he could be taking over from you very shortly.
Well, there's a queue forming, so
there is.
Yeah, join it.
I'll be behind Vernon. Pun intended.
Well, they've never kept that line in. When I said when we were losing, no. See, one line they would never keep in. I bet they cut out of this. Right, it was that when our podcast first launched, we were behind Peter Crouch, and I said the only Crouch I wanted to be behind was Abby, and I checked it with my wife, and she initially said, "Oh, I don't think that's the problem." And I explained it was quite funny.
It's quite funny,
and they cut it out. So don't cut it out this time, Si. You virgin.
Good. We nearly did a show without abusing him. I'm very glad. Just at the last, we tucked it in. Very good anger on social. Can we just give a hug to Joe Marler, who, trolling of Izzy Folau
he is a
amazing.
Genius. The best thing about Joe is he didn't say anything. He just sent the best stuff.
I saw him today down at Harlequins, and he came up to me and said, "You've had a busy few days." I went, "So have you?" And he just went, "Mad, isn't it?"
Yeah. I love Joe.
Because staying in the membrane.
But do you know what it is? Because that's the point, is that you just don't expect it from Joe, because you never know what you're going to get, is my points on when he came on the show. But
it must be exhausting.
But there is a depth, or the stop-start going forward, give
Tell me about it. Break, accelerate, break.
But when Chloe and I were going through the social media stuff, and I tried to get her to be my gauge, because I have completely lost myself down the rabbit hole of professional sport, men's changing rooms. I've always been to a boys' boarding school. I don't have a great outlook. I didn't went to university. I am quite cosmopolitan because of all the places I lived in the world, but it doesn't necessarily, what's been ingrained into me. And Chloe is kind of my person who gives me my sounding board, and we went through social media and looked at Joe Marler's stuff, and we're in hysterics. I was like, I love that he sent that. It was so good. And my favourite thing, someone went, God, I can't believe you sent two. And I'm like, what are you talking? Like, oh my God, it's bizarre. I know. Anyway, more to talk.
That's it for this week. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to the House of Rugby. We are a YouTube show and a podcast. Don't forget to download and watch our boxing show, TK with Carl Frampton, and Boys Don't Cry with Russell Kane. This week on Marriage with James and Chloe Haskell.
It's on Marriage, is it?
Yeah. What do you think it was on?
I don't know what the show's about.
Did you think you were on Mr. and Mrs.?
Yeah, I thought it was something fun, like a quiz show. Oh, we're going to have to get in depth, are we?
Yeah.
Awkward.
Thank you to Shagger. Thank you to Nick Heath. Goodbye. See you next week.
You've been watching the House of Rugby on Joe, together with Guinness. Drink responsibly. Visit drinkaware.co.uk for the facts.